Hello. All right. So it's Mrs. Wetzel, your librarian, and I heard that you are about to start working on a project and you're at the beginning stages. I thought I would pop in and tell you a little bit about how to navigate the research process. And we'll just start with the very beginning stages right now. So to take you through some of the resources that we have, if you start on the Radnor High School website and head to the library tab right here in the middle, we're going to look over to the left-hand side to a tab called a bullet point that says research guides. Now, these are guides. You might also hear us call them LibGuides. They're research guides that we can customize for each project or each class. So right now they're alphabetical. I'm going to take you down to one called the research process. And for this research that you'll start to do in your class, we're going to use a process called the Big Six research process. Maybe you've heard it before in your time here at Radnor. And you might be thinking, well, what is the Big Six? So basically, there are 6 steps of research that are not necessarily linear. They're very cyclical. So you start with one and you might circle back to steps as you go. Now, the research process, this LibGuide will give you some information about that. So really kind of give you an idea about like what research is and what it's not. Conducting research is, it is a process, and what does it look like? We've got a couple example rubrics and organizers here for you, and evaluation tools as you go. So we can dig into these a little bit later. So this is our homepage here. As we go across these tabs at the top, we're going to start today just by focusing on the Big Six itself. And as you can see, we've got the drop down with all of the different steps. So we'll start with task definition and some information seeking strategies. So you might actually be doing steps 1, 2, and 3, all in the same session. So as I click the Big Six, so what is this approach? Really it's an information literacy approach, and it just helps you kind of like guide your process. So we've got some links here for you, but what we're going to do is dig right into task definitions. So what does this mean? Now, in your project that you'll be starting, all the novels that you'll be reading in class this year have to do with a journey, and you'll evaluate the protagonist changing throughout the journey. So very similar to that, we're going to take a look at somebody that was time 100 most influential person, whether currently in this year 2020 or in the past. We've got lists from 2019 and 2018 as well. And we have a different LibGuide for that also. So you're going to start to think about some people that interest you. But rather than just hopping into the first person you can think of, this is where we define our task. And we start thinking of maybe a list of 5 people that you might be interested in. And as you do that, you're going to start to think about how it links to the journey that the characters in your novels are taking, and making those parallel connections. So in task definition, we've got 2 main pieces. We will define the information problem. So right now, we have not given you any outline for the assignment. Right now, we just want you to start thinking about somebody who's interesting to you. And then we'll get to some of the assignment nitty-gritty details. Also, in this step, you'll identify the information you need in order to complete the task or to solve this information problem. So really, you're going to start thinking about what kind of person you might want to dig into, what are some of the details about their life and their past, what was sort of a defining moment for them or a defining event in their life, and then how have they changed as a result of that defining moment. So as we start to think about, people that we might want to focus on, you can open up another tab next door to where we are and go ahead back to the Radnor High School library website. And here's where we'll head back over to the research guides, that bullet point right there. And we've made a guide for you for this project called Time 100. So we'll scroll down to the T's. And here we go, Time Magazine 100 Most Influential People. Now, we'll dig into this in the next screencast, but just to give you an idea of some of the people that you could focus on, I'd like you to scroll down just a little bit. These are sort of information databases that we'll take a look at and magazines. But here we've got some embedded videos of the Time 100 interviews and the people that were featured in the past. So we'll start with, we've got interviews from 2019. They also made all the honorees, just a quick little video snippet. So if you kind of want to start to get your mind thinking of all of them, you could do that. So just start digging within here to see people that might be of interest to you. So that will help you start to define your task. So I'm going to go back over to the big six. And what we'll do next is determine some information seeking strategies. So you might start to think of the possible sources that you might be digging into once you start to define your task. So what could it be? It could be the databases that we took a look at, Flipster digital magazines, a Google search, and you'll want to have that nice variety of resources. Guess where we're going to put them? In Noodle Tools. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. That will be the next step. You'll also start to evaluate the different possible sources to determine priorities. So you can determine like what the best sources are and which ones are actually available to you. And I'll help you with that in our next step. So for now, now that you've kind of defined the first couple different steps of our research process, you can go ahead and dig into the research guides for Time Magazine 100 Most Influential People. Enjoy your search.